Evening, everybody. How are we all doing? Let me just disable the good old display capture, and now we move over to the good old, as always, game sharing screen thingy bobby thing. But yeah, how are we all doing? We're doing well. We're back for some F2 this evening for round number 5 at the circuit of Suzuka, and as you can see, we have got the second counter beginning, and we'll be on the way in around about 10 seconds time. And yeah, so Suzuka, an interesting circuit. Overtaking is going to be quite bearable and most likely impossible. So we've got a total of 18 turns, one DRS zone, which is on the exit of turn 18, down to turn 1. We've got that very tricky S section in sector 1, and then pretty much some more easier corners, a big straight out of turn 14 down to turn 16. Yeah, so like I say, overtaking going to be a little bit difficult. We could see a safety car or two, but I have been having a nosy on time trial, and a big shout out to Mr. Viper Strikes, an admin at Phoenix, who actually is in charge of the F2 lot, and is stupidly the fastest driver on the leaderboards of F2, which is something I don't think I'd be saying to this stone age, but hey, things do happen. And he was just saying that he loves Suzuka, so if he loves Suzuka so much, could we see him back-to-back wins in both races? That would be quite a good story, and a lot of bragging rights, shall I say. But like I say, in a few seconds time we'll get underway for the qualifying session of a one-shot quali, see which driver is fastest on track with that only qualifying lap. So if you do invalidate or go wide off track and ruin your lap time, that is your only chance of qualifying on the grid. But I believe you only have 7 to 8 drivers, so people will still be scoring points. It's all just the basis of surviving. Survive and see what happens. All the marshals in the bottom right hand side corner, looking wonderful as always, and there is no grandstand on my left hand side. No AI to observe, shall we say, but we have got the lovely DHL signs. It is annoying me a little bit how they're not all in a straight line. I don't know if that's a game bug or if it's actually meant to be like that. It does look like it's meant to be like that, but I could be completely wrong. As I say, I'm not the smartest tool on the planet at all. Let me just double check the Discord, because this is a very, very long waiting, shall we say. I do apologise for the wait. I'm not too sure what's actually going on, and never mind, the wait is over, shall we say. We're going to get going in around about 20 seconds time here for the one-shot qualifying here at the lovely circuit of Japan. I'm so excited for this one. Let's see who takes pole position in 7 seconds time. With a 3, 2, 1, it's lights out, and away we go for qualifying on board with the wonderful James Mustang. So let's see how he gets on the run down to turn number 1, shall we say. And does he hug that inside? He does, as much as he can, and still trying to hug that inside, heading into turns 4, 5, 6 and 7 now, the tricky S section, I like to call it. Missing the apexes quite a bit by quite a fair margin, but these F2 cars are quite a big struggle to drive in this game, and it looks like Suffocating is on pole position as it stands at this moment of time for this qualifying session, with Wobby in P2 and Matt actually chilling in P3, and Viper chilling was in a provisional P4 but is looking to try and take that final podium of P3 away from Matt, who actually jumps up to P2. So a top 4 looking quite spicy. On board with James, however, must have been looking at the leaderboard on the top left hand side, changing drastically. Not had any scary, hairy moments. He's kept it on the track, but just letting himself down by going wide at a few corners. But sometimes at Suzuka, you want to go a little bit wide to avoid that oversteer or understeer, and just get the best traction, the best exit as you possibly can. And saying that, look, he went from P5 or P6 up into P4 right now, flat out, a little bit of a lift it sounded like, as he makes his way now down to turns 16, 17, and then towards turns number 18, missing the first apex but hitting the second apex to perfection. And we are going to get James crossing the line now. It's a 1 minute 41, and you could say most of the grid, with not a big attendance this evening, all within the 1 minute 41s down to P6, and then Tiki is around about 1.5 off the pace. So Tiki got a lot of work to do down in P7, but I believe as he finished in P7, that does mean he starts on pole position for the sprint race, I think they call it in F2. I just get confused with the feature and the sprint, so I'm on to the sprint now, and then the feature race very, very shortly. Suffocating taken pole of a 1 minute 41.221, a fair big of a margin to P2, 3/10 away of a 1 minute 41.575. P2 and P3 separated by a 1/10, so not too bad there. And then yeah, I was pretty surprised that the Viper, Sane, who was quick at Suzuka, seeing it was quite a good night for him in qualifying, and as well you could say especially a time trial, to get a lap on the board, but nowhere to be seen at all. But is that the strategy's thinking, if I do really bad in qualifying and get up into the top 3 on the start of the sprint, can I just try and run away with the win? That could be his plan all along, which is a little bit cheeky in my opinion, but gotta do what you gotta do in racing these days. So like I say, we'll just sit and wait, as we are going to get the 5 lights out here at Suzuka for round number 5. It's a very long wait, but it is lights out, and away we go. Tiki Dogs off to a very good start. Now going to be 3 wide, actually, heading down to turn number 1 and swooping around the outside. It is going to be Cyber, a new face, it looks like, to Phoenix in the F2 race this evening, and he takes the lead into turn number 1. There's a bit of contact at the back. 2 drivers are around. It is Suffocating and Matt in P6 and P7, but with those 2 making contact, the top 5 all making it through very, very nicely. And already Cyber 1.1 away, and someone else has actually spun around, and that's going to be Viper Strikes bidding it somewhere on the circuit at turn number 7 towards turn number 8, and he finds himself all the way down in P7 where he would not want to be himself. So qualifying not off to a great start, and now this main, not the main race, the sprint race should I say, apologies, also not off to a very good start. Ain't cooking, shall we say. Ain't cooking, as we see Rob McQueen trying to somewhat pile the pressure now on Tiki Dogs for that P2. 2/10 away, make that a 10th now, as he makes his way out of turn number 14, making his way down to 15 and then 16. And advantage and upper hand to Cyber is around about 2.3 seconds of distance time. Wheel to wheel now at turn number 15 towards 16, side by side. Webby is quite good on the brakes here, and does make the move stick, and up into P2 with Tiki Dogs dropping down to P3. But with all that fighting going on in the background, that could allow the door open for James and Mustang to get involved with a cheeky move somewhere at Suzuka. Lap number 2 out of 11, and you could say we could have a DRS activation, as we see someone go quite wide there and quite deep into turn 1, and it was unfortunately Tiki Dogs, and that allows James Mustang up into P3 and right behind, you could say, his championship rival Wobbin McQueen, who's around about 7/10 away from James Mustang himself. I make that 8/10, getting quite a good exit there, but trying to close that gap down to P1, which is now 3 seconds. So Cyber pushing like hell on circuit, and no one able to respond, which is actually quite surprising. So this could be quite a dominant race for Cyber, but let's see as the race goes on. Gap wise elsewhere, we've got Suffocating a 10th away now from Matt Pryor for 5 in this race as we go on board with him now, actually quite close to the rear wing of I believe that's the high-tech car. Well, that's not the high-tech car. That is one of the cars from the F2 team, but I can't quite remember which team it is. But fair enough, me getting confused because high-tech is in P2, and that's the only high-tech on the grid, so I'm just getting a bit confused, and as always, just being Flynn. Right then, flat out through turn 15, no lift there whatsoever from Suffocating, and it will be lap number 3 out of 11 that we do get that rear wing finally activated. And look at that Cyber, a 1 minute 44.189, fastest lap of the session. With DRS now enabled, drivers will be able to find overtaking a little bit easier. Here goes Suffocating into turn 1, up the inside, and gets that move done. Into turn 3 towards turn 4 now, up into P5. He'll be very happy and delighted with that move, and he's now got around about 1.3 seconds to close up to P4, and this could start to get a bit exciting and start brewing just a little bit in this race. The gap between P3 and P2 was about almost half a second, and then it dropped drastically because I think Wobbin McQueen made a slight mistake somewhere on circuit. But with that drastic mistake, and as you see there again, just going a little bit too deep on the brakes and not getting the best of exits out the hairpin. I say that though, the exits seem to be okay, because look at James Mustang, he's now out of a second with that rear wing not being enabled. If he gets it all wrong at turn number 13 towards 14, 1.1 is the gap right now. He gets a superb exit and just what he needed out of turn 14, and is bubbling within a second, which means if it stays the way it's going, he will eventually get that rear wing open. But Wobbin McQueen taking a bit more high speed as Tiki Dog's off the track once again. That will now allow Suffocating to close up to the rear wing of I was gonna say Tiki Dogs. He got a 30-second time penalty for unfortunately corner cutting there, so completely missing his braking zone down towards 16 and 17. As you see an overtake happening in the background, that is going to be Matt getting up into P5, and Tiki Dogs just dropping as this race goes on drastically down to P6. That now opens the door for Suffocating though, up into P4, and James Mustang starting to feel the pressure maybe, because they're 1.2 away. Wobbin McQueen seems he's started to put the afterburners on and start pushing on lap number 4 out of 11. Suffocating now within attack mode of getting that rear wing open, goes purple in sector 1. So it definitely shows that Suffocating could, surprisingly and most favourably, have the pace to catch P3 and get a good enough exit out of the hairpin. Turn 11 towards turn 12, and then 13 we must continue. That gap is so close to being within a second, and look at the difference on confidence, on power and corner exits, because that gap was a second and is now 7/10 of a second, and he's most likely gonna get that rear wing nicely open. So if he can get this move done as quickly as possible, he could then challenge Wobby for that P2, because the gap to P1 seems to have You could say eaten alive. Currently does not exist, but let's go on board with Suffocating himself and let's see what is the straight line speed like on the Campos racing car this evening. It ain't looking too powerful, but James, where on earth is he going down at turn 1? Completely off track there. That could officially be another warning to his name. You get 3 warnings in a row. You do get a very harsh 3-second time penalty. Drivers need to make sure they keep it on track, shall we say. But so far, everybody has kept it within track limits for now. They could be on a warning or two, and we could see those time penalties make their way into play very, very shortly. I say time penalties. Tiki Dogs did get a 3-second time penalty, but I was gonna say it would be for track limits, but since he cut like half of the corner, and he could say a quarter of the, I would say a quarter, a fraction of the track as well. The game went, you know what, you're not going to get a track limit warning for that. We're going to give you a warning for corner cutting, because it was quite a various and observing corner cut there. You just saw the time gain he got out of turn 16 and then straight on to turn 18 in a split second. So yeah, the game doing things right for once, maybe, who knows. Back on board with Campos, missing the apex completely of turn 16, out of turn 17 towards 18, and then down to turn number 1. Is the dirty air affecting Suffocating? Most likely, but down at turn 1 again, James following that same line, and that just loses him so much time on entering and on corner exit. Because look now, with James doing that same line he did last lap on lap number 5, look how much closer Suffocating is. And now this will really be triggering Suffocating, especially in sector 1 where he's quicker than James Mustang is being held up. So if he wasn't being held up at this moment of time, we could have seen a nice spicy battle for P2. I would say he's close enough to go for a cheeky dive bomb, but it's not going to be possible. He may try for the good old switcheroo and try for the fake move, maybe up the inside or the outside. Does get a decent exit, you could say. Bob McQueen isn't really running away, so he did say Suzuka is not one of his most favoritable tracks, but hey, he's in P2 at the moment. Quite good stuff for the championship gain and take some more positions up in the standings. But we'll have a look at the standings and chat about them later on as this sprint race will get done and concluded eventually. Yeah, so championship standings looking spicy. Saying that, we'll keep on board with Suffocating for now. 2/10 away. Definitely going to get the move done on James Mustang for that P3. The final podium position of this race, down into turn 1, side by side. James taking a slightly different line and not taking as much apex as they would want to, but that does allow Suffocating up into P3. James Mustang down to P4. Now let's see what happens to Suffocating here. If he's got the pace, he could try and close that gap down to Robin McQueen. But let's see if they will drop James Mustang by quite a substantial amount. The gap is already around about 0.4 of a second. So maybe Suffocating on lap number 7, heading towards lap number 8, is starting to push quite a little bit, with Tiki Dogs 2.8 away from Matt. Matt going to get involved in this battling very, very shortly. Not far away from getting that rear wing open. Not far away at all. It seems though, once again, Robin McQueen will be running away in this P2 position at the moment. The gap is 2.3, and Suffocating isn't really gaining much this lap, as we're going to get no crazy overtakes here. So let me just grab Discord. Let me get the standings on my screen so we can have a bit of a chat about that. Hopefully nothing crazy. Right, standings. Right. Excuse me there. If you heard the sniffling in the background, that was me just trying to clear my nose, as I'm not feeling 110%. On board of P4 though, was gaining quite a bit on that straight out of turn 18 down to turn 1. Right then, so after round number 4, which I think was at Qatar, or was it Qatar? No. Was it Qatar? No, it wasn't Qatar. I can't remember 100% what round it was, but to be honest, it's not looking too bad because Rob McQueen is on 113 points into round 5 now. It's not looking too bad for himself in that P2. And then you do have Suffocating in P2 on 100 points, so only a 3-point difference between P1 and P2 right now. But with this point scoring system, Robin McQueen should realistically build a bit more of a gap by a point or two if it stays the way it's going. 2.2 is the gap to P3 to P4. James Mustang starting to fall off. The gap is now 7/10 as we head to lap number 9 very, very shortly. But someone we've actually not been on board with for the last couple of laps, just gone now, is Cyber. You know, seems to be a new face here at Phoenix Sim Sport. Lap number 9, out of 11, absolutely dominating the Suzuka race in nice and dry and calm conditions. 5.1. That's absolutely crazy with how much confidence he's got on the car, throwing the car, look, touching the apexes. In this game, in this stone age of F1 23, you couldn't touch the curbs. If you touched them, you'd be spinning around for days. But some curbs you can actually, you know, use. But dominant victory, you could say, if it stays the way it's going. Suffocating looks like it's going to conceal for a P3 because that gap is just hovering around about 2.2 of a second, so that isn't really drastically dropping. So Webby doing enough to defend off that P2, and Suffocating just doing about enough to fend off that P at number 4, who's under humongous pressure now from Matt, who may look for a cheeky move around the outside or the inside. He doesn't. He does tuck in to the rear wing of the Trident car in front of him, but will now get some lovely slipstream and a massive tow out of turn 14, down to 15, and then down to 16. We'll go on board now with the ART driver, and look how much confidence he's got lifting there, thinking for a move to the hairpin. He is going to go for the move up the inside at turn number 16, out of turn number 17. Victorious for ART, not so victorious for Trident, which now dropped down to P at number 5. They're going to go side by side now, but it does look like ART has that rear wing enabled and open down to turn 1, and the battle, you know, comes to a close, comes to an end for now. We are on the penultimate lap of this race. This is where drivers are going to start pushing as hard as they possibly can, like in Sector 1. What on earth is going on with Suffocating right now? That gap was 2.1 seconds. It's now 1.6, 1.7. That gap is drastically dropping. Is Suffocating now dropping the bomb, dropping the power, foot flat to the floor, and it's full on push towards the end of this race? The gap is 1.6 to 1.5 of a second. This could be a bit tight, but does make a big error at the hairpin and loses a humongous chunk of time, which is now up to 1.8, with James Mustang still chilling in that P5 spot for now, in DRS range of P number 4. So we'll see how James gets on. Out of turn number 14, the gap is now 0.8 of a second, now 0.9 of a second. Still going to get that rear wing open on the exit of turn number 16 towards 17, towards 18, and then all the way down towards turn number 1. But it all depends how good the Trident's exit is out of 17 onwards and upwards to turn 1. And it didn't look the best because unfortunately James didn't get the best exit, and Matt able to get a decent exit out of turn 17 and stay ahead by a country mile, you could say. So as the way it stands, it should be Cyber coming home in P1. Robin McQueen should be coming home in P2, but Suffocating is really charging and on the push here, and has really closed that gap to a significant amount. So if that's tyre wear, saving tyres, if that's crucial, whatever it is, I'm not too sure, but the gap is now 1.2. The gap is really dropping, so is something not right in the hands of Robin McQueen, or is he just winding me up on stream and just lifting and coasting to the end of this race, but makes a big error in the hairpin section, shall we say now, and that does slightly open the door for Suffocating, because the gap is now 1.1 of a second, but that gap should be marginally big enough. But into 13 and 14, you can see the difference on power and confidence on throttle adjustment and placement, but laps have ran out. Unfortunately, it is going to be Cyber who takes the win, and I wasn't saying unfortunately for Cyber taking the win, I was saying unfortunately for Suffocating. Racing laps are going to run out and he will come home in P3, but Cyber will cross the line to come home in P1 here for the sprint at Suzuka. Robin McQueen making a big error in the hairpin, comes home in P2, P3 for Suffocating, P4 for Matt, P5 for James, and then Tiki Dogs coming home in P6, and then Viper not having a great race, coming home in P7. But like I say, unfortunate for Suffocating to run out of racing distance wise, because it looked like he really had the pace towards the end, and with Wobby making that critical error in the hairpin section, did open a last gasping opportunity for Suffocating to get into P2, but I think Suffocating went a bit deep himself and just got a bit distracted and allowed Wobby to really push on the final sector 3 and just open to 1.2. But yeah, that's interesting. With the sprint race done, as we're watching the celebrations right now, we do move on over to the feature, or the main race you could say, in a few moments time, where we do get a bit of extra racing distance. So that now opens the door to Suffocating himself. If he can do what he did just now in the sprint and go chill on his tires and just conserve and chill and lift and coast and all that malarkey, and then able to push like that to the end with a few more laps to go, that could make the ending slightly more exciting. Give it a bit more of a thrill in action, but it did annoy me is we are going to miss out, unfortunately, on the standings, because I was hoping we were going to see them, but we have completely missed them, and I can't remember how the point system works in F2 for the sprint. I know it's the same as the Formula 1 sprint, but I normally watch the Formula 1. I don't really watch the F2 races quite a bit, but maybe I need to, because I've been hearing quite entertaining to watch, and I will admit I have watched some F2 races for the 2024 season, which has come to a close now, and they were absolutely chaotic. More entertaining than the actual Formula One. Didn't think I'd be saying that at all in my lifetime. That is something, like I say, I thought I'd never say. But hey ho, we are here, and it's looking a bit cloudy, shall we say? But nevertheless, if there's rain, feel free to let me know. I'd love to hear if there's rain or not, because it adds a bit more spice and you could say excitement to it. As, I'm going to get something open on my screen, so bear with a chatter. What I need open on my screen. Shove that. Oh, I've completely messed this up. We're going to shove that there. Are going to chat. I'm breaking things again. I say Flinnerooney is things, but I managed to save it. Right. Racing action. When's it beginning? Hopefully in a few moments' time. Come on. Give us a wonderful 5 red lights here at Suzuka. Come on. Give it to me. Here we go. The 5 red lights here at Suzuka for round 5. It's going to be lights out, and away we go. It's a very good start for our pole leader and pole position, suffocating on the soft compound tyre. Looks like Matt there is on the medium compound tyre. Into turn 1. Wobby tried to look for a move around the outside there, but Matt having a bit more of a margin to go for. And a bit of a squeeze there by Matt Pryor as we make our way through the first couple of corners out of the S section. And Matt off to a very aggressive defensive side of the start of the race, which is a bit interesting because that gap for suffocating is really going to open up and may just spice things up for the championship. But look at that, with the soft tires compared to the mediums, you can see the pace difference, can't you? Because well, look at Webby, look how close he is to the rear wing of Matt. Down to the hairpin now. Not going to look for a move at all because he made a crucial big mistake in the hairpin on the last lap at the sprint. So looking to not do that again, Webby. So hopefully he can keep his car under control and not many crazy things will happen. But your race leader is suffocating on lap number 1, heading to lap number 2 very, very shortly, and the gap has already opened up to 1.3, heading towards a 1.4 of a second. And some of these drivers' straight line speed isn't looking impeccable, as we see Cyber get up into P6 now ahead of Tiki Dogs for a move done at 130R, which you normally don't see moves happen. Close wheel contact there and side-by-side action, but make it through somehow in one piece out of the tricky chicane, suffocating a 1 minute 44.404 is your fastest lap of the race. But yeah, like I said, a cheeky move in turns 16 and 17 for Cyber, and managed to defend the position from Tiki Dogs. That's some pretty good stuff. We're going to be intrigued and enthralled for a very exciting race. But Matt looks very, very slow in Sector 1, which is really opening the door for Suffocating to really run away with this one. And Bob McQueen will really be feeling the frustration and trying for a switchback anywhere on circuit to get past Matt. He was looking to the inside there, but unfortunately couldn't react quick enough and get the move done there. Into turn, oh, someone goes way wide there at turn number 9 towards turn 10, and I believe that was Viper or James, one of the two, but managing to recover well. But that gap has already opened up now to the lead, almost 2 seconds, which I wasn't really expecting, but Suffocating going to use that to advantage and really start to push as hard as he possibly can. Let's go aboard with our championship leader right now. Is Robin McQueen, gaining and gaining so much on James Mustang. Oh, that curb there looked like it wanted to take his life away. down into 16 and 17, late on the brakes as possibly can, and get a good exit lined up here. Is the slip and toe powerful enough as Suffocating is starting to push quite a bit more on his tyres. Look at the toe advantage. DRS is enabled, down into turn 1. He's looking to the inside. Wobby thinking for a move on the inside, trying to get the car stopped as quickly as he possibly can. Oh, hitting the curb at turn 1, which you don't want to do. You can sense the frustration in that car right now. But Hi-Tech is not looking happy whatsoever, and that gap up front is just opening up lap by lap, and James Mustang may try and spoil the party and get involved as we see Viper now up into P6 now, so ahead of Tiki Dogs. Tiki Dogs, from going from a decent position in this race at the beginning, finds himself down in P7, plumb last, as Cyber getting a bit twitchy on the rear end there, and is unfortunately 1.7 to 8 seconds away from P4, and the top 4, or the top 4th, 3rd and 2nd, may just run away and try and build a gap now, as with that rear wing enabled, if Webby is, you know, close enough, as he should possibly be close as he wants to be close as beforehand, should get the easy advantage of getting the move done out of turn 17, as James not far back as well. 5/10 is the gap to himself and Wobby. At 130R now. Look at the difference. Is there already going to be DRS tricking happening as at turn 16 out of 17, side by side in the tight chicane, and Matt does come out on top once again, but Webby will get the activation of DRS, but it doesn't seem powerful heading towards turn number 1. He is going to look to that inside line though, try and go as late on the brakes as he possibly can, as we accidentally switched to our race leader. Look at this battle we're getting, side by side, medium against the soft compound tyre. Webby needs to get by now. It's just some lovely racing action we are getting. Softs against the medium, still side by side in the S section. Matt is trying to do whatever he can to keep this fight alive, and Wobby finding a way through, and is he trying to find a way through? Is Matt trying to come back here now? Once again, side by side still at turn number 8 towards number 9. They're not going to be side by side any much longer, but James Mustang getting involved in the fight now, and making his way potentially up into 3rd position, as Wobby will try to run away, but on lap number 4 out of 15, I think at Suzuka the tyre wear is really bad. So when those medium compounder tyres get into play and get into memo and get into warm-up rhythm, just you wait and you see the pace that Matt can show, because that'll basically be dominating and destroying the soft compound runners, and I believe he is the only driver to be on the softs. He's a solo. There's another driver, which is Viper, down in P6, also on the medium compound of tyre, and the gap up front, 5.5, all that squabbling and fighting. That's a lot of work there for Webby to do. Is a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings going out to the one and only Mr. Viper. Strikes with Cyber in a comfortable P5, and not gaining enough in a straight line to get that move done, shall we say. Oh, a big mistake there from James Mustang. Goes off track at turn 1. That allows Cyber up into P4 now, and oh my goodness, it was also Viper going a bit wide as well on the exit curb of turn 2, you could say. And what's happened here? Matt under more pressure from Cyber, trying to look around the outside, which is to the inside line for him, and he gets that move done, but unfortunately has to avoid and go off track, and almost collects James Mustang there, and comes back out on circuit, on track in P5. And these guys aren't going to give it up without a spicy fight. But with that fighting, Matt has lost the DRS to the car ahead, which is now 1.4 of a second, and that is so crucial to be within the DRS, because Bob McQueen can push as hard as he wants now on those soft compounder tyres to try and somewhat build a gap to the cars behind. But let's see what Matt's pace like. Wanting to focus on the car ahead as Cyber now gets up into P4. Ahead of James Mustang. Didn't really see that. I didn't really see that move whatsoever. So it looks like the game is being the game, shall we say, and showing us some useful and the good old usual charitable camera angles. But Matt has really closed that gap in sector 2. Or sector 3, shall we say, as well. Out of turn 17, gets a decent exit. Are those soft compound tyres already dropping to the flinge of bins, shall we say? As we do get James Mustang dropping down to P7. A 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane is going to a set of, it's going to be the medium compound of tyre. Those softs look like they are dying because Matt is really closing in on Wobby McQueen in P3, and the gap is 1.1. But look at Cyber trying for a move as he did on James Mustang, and around the outside here he's going to try again, this time keeping it on track, and he does get that move done. Dustin, lovely stuff there that you love to see from Cyber out of nowhere. A phenomenal move, probably move of the season for my liking now. Good stuff there for Cyber, keeping it nice and clean. That gap is 1.2 of a second. Let's see what kind of pace has Cyber got in that car to show this evening. And it looks like at the hairpin, he's got a tremendous exit. And that gap is now 1.1 and dropping drastically as racing distance and racing time goes on. The gap is going to be hopefully within a second, which does mean he will get that rear wing open. And he will. Look at the gap between himself and Wobby, who's really looking like he's struggling on that compounded tyre. 8 tenths. Oh, actually, no. That's 8 tenths from Cyber to Matt. Wobby being overtaken and in threat. 4 tenths. That's crazy. How much are they going to squabble? Out of turn 17, Wobby is bailing into the pits. Cyber stays out another lap. So does Matt. So does Viper as well. Of course, why wouldn't you? You know, you're on the medium compounded tyre. As Tiki Dog's a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pits. And Webby on board of him. You can see getting his tyres sorted out. And James having a moment on track somewhere because that gap is quite significant. And he's only reached turn 16 and 17, so he will be coming out in P5. Tiki Dogs should be coming out in P6. As it stands, James Mustang plumb last in this race, or is he? Down to turn 1. He does get ahead of Tiki Dogs, but suffocating, what can I say? A 3-second time penalty to his name. But look at Cyber chomping that gap away. Lap 17, lap 7 out of 15, and that gap is drastically making its way down. 4.5. He's gained half a second out of the hairpin at turn 11. That's absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy, but this is also quite surprising because you would think that those soft tyres would be literally dead. Somehow, they're still alive, and they're going strong, and they're going well. Yeah. As Cyber, a 1 minute 43.716, and suffocating our race leader, does appeal into the pit lane for that medium compound of tyre. And should comfortably come out. In P4. And should naturally be our race leader. And that gap is 6.3, 5.8, 5.7 to Wobby. And suffocating But obviously suffocating, got to have a lap to get those tyres into operating, functioning range. And this is where this part of the race does get a little bit boring, because there's not much to really chat about, or things we can say or do, as we're just on board with Cyber now. 5.6 is the gap he's managed to build, and this is absolutely crazy. The soft compounder tyre is still going. I have no words. I have no words. As he goes fastest in Sector 2 now. Pushing this lap to peel into the pits, maybe? Let's see. Well, he does come in. He does come in. Slowed down quite a bit, though. I don't know what's going on there. You could say, interesting pictures. Oh, Viper! A 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pits. Oh, Viper. Oh, no. He's having a horrendous race at Suzuka today. Where is Cyber going to peel out? Hopefully in P2, maybe. Or P3. It's going to be close on exit. Here we go. Will it be ahead of... Viper? Matt Pryor comes out in. Right behind James Mustang. But Cyber does drop down to P7. Also got held up in the pits, or forgot to peel out into the pits lane, shall we say. And the gap between P1 and P2 is, you know, starting to chomp down. Just a bit, you know. Suffocating. He's in a bit of threat and danger, you could say. He's in a bit of danger because he's got a 3-second time penalty, so he's got 2-second advantage at the moment. If he keeps it nice and smooth and nice and chill, he should just be okay. On board with Viper now. 0.7 of a second. Could actually get the rear wing open here. Let's see. Turn 16 and then turn 17 now. Five more laps to go in this race. And anything could happen and be possible. Our closest battle at the moment, though, gonna be Picky Dogs and Viper. Oh no, sorry. Viper and Matt for P4. To be honest, I don't think Matt would fight it too hard, as obviously Viper has a time penalty to his name. So if he was to play it smart, he would just let Joe go. So, Viper, a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. That's another one now. Be a bigger hinder to his champion points, you could say. Champion points. Very important. Very mighty, very powerful, shall we say. It can be quite useful at some times as well. Also though, one thing to note, Matt isn't far away as well from James Mustang. Already and almost within a second. So let's see what happens here. Lap number 11 out of 15. Cyber falling to the back of the grid. See how well he can get on from P7 to... I want to say, gap-wise, the pace he's got in that car today. Top 3. A top 3 could be possible. Top 3 as Matt is now within striking distance. But what doesn't help James is that he's got that penalty to his name right now, as you can see there. Oh, that was quite close to contact there. Matt and James get a bit closer to comfort. 130 on now. James will pull out to the outside line. Oh, was he going to be the mistake? He was looking for it. He was looking. He pulls up, and I say he pulls up. He drops down to P5 now and allows Viper up into P4. Viper should easily get the move done for P6. Podium position this race, and there we go. Down to turn 1, lap 12, out of 15. There you go, chat. I am here, don't worry. I just thought I'd give you the chance to listen to those lovely F2 cars roaring in action. But as well, if suffocating keeps us going well, 1.7.8 is the gap to your race leader right now. That could just play into his favour with having that penalty as well applied. But Viper, as we saw, into P3. Wow. Viper managed to completely drop Matt there in Sector 1, but now in Sector 2, he's going to manage to get back in. Only just, though. Only just getting in. And the gap is now 9 tenths to 7 tenths of a second. Not looking too shabby, nor too bad. But heading towards the penultimate lap of this race with Cyber almost on the gearbox of P number 5. As they do go fastest in Sector 2. Penultimate lap of the race has started, and Viper has really closed that gap down to towards Bob McQueen, who's probably starting to struggle just a little bit on their medium compounder tyres due to the wear being really, really high. No moving to turn 1. Nope, nothing. A little bit wide though, a little bit deep though for James Mustang. That allows Cyber now up into P5. Remember, penalties do apply to himself as well. A lot of gap time to close, but possibly do it and doable with the pace he's got in that car this evening. And I love pressing one buttons. There we go. On board with P3, who's got quite a big amount of penalties to their name. But really closing that gap. Look at that. It was 1.1 and it dropped up to 1.3, so good entrance, but shocking exit. But now Matt Pryor's all over the rear wing of Mr. Viper Strikes. So will they possibly work together? Possibly not, as I'm not too sure what Webby's doing there. Maybe Webby's trying to help out and give some DRS assistance to Viper behind and saying that, look at that, that's a big, big error and a big mistake for Matt going off at 130R, and Mr. Viper will get that DRS detection zone wide open. Actually doesn't get the DRS wide open whatsoever as they make our way down. No, he does. I don't know what's going on with the game there. That really confused me. Last lap of this race. And a lot to reflect on, shall we say. Viper going to start piling and applying the pressure towards the end of this race. So, it's not over yet. Never say it's never, till it's never. But I am quite surprised, because it's been a very dominant race and a dominant victory, you could say, for Suffocating, who's in P1. Oh, look at that. Late on the brakes there for Viper. Almost going into the back of Robin McQueen there. But we go on board with our race leader in a second, who actually might win by a margin of 10 seconds. That's unbelievable. As Viper does get a good exit himself, but making our way to P number 1. And out of turn 16 and 17 and 18, he is going to cross the line to win at Suzuka. Take the win at Suzuka. Wobby coming home in P2. Viper coming home on track with P3, but will drop a position or two for an unserved 5-second time penalty and drops down to P5. Cyber put into P4. James P6 this race, and then Tiki Dogs coming home in P7. And chat, that is the race concluded this evening. I'll have a quick look at the standings if we get a chance to. Right, let's have a look at the standings then, shall we, chat? Right. Total points scored this weekend. One McQueen 26 points and Suffocating 33 points, which does mean, as the way it goes, it should be going in swinging ways for Suffocating. Once the standings get updated for round 5, does mean Suffocating will be our new championship leader. But chat, thank you so much for watching. Catch us tomorrow live on the channel for some ACC action at 4, or actually, should I say at 4:30 UK time. Join then for some absolutely wonderful qualifying with the wonderful Mav himself. And I'll catch you all very, very soon in the next one. Peace.